Welcome to Get Your FRQ On. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to access some of the statistical variables that you would get in a one variable statistical analysis without doing the entire analysis. So what I'm going to be looking for is up here, the second function on my stat button is list. And what this is going to do is when I click on that, it's going to take me to a bunch of functions that I can apply to lists in general, not necessarily the ones that are in the stat editor, but any list that I have saved as a variable on the calculator. So second stat, and what I want to look for is the math. Notice I have my 6 predefined lists, but if I wanted to, I could define different lists and they would show up here as well. I want to go to math and focus my attention specifically on 1 through 4 and number 7. All right, so if I just want the minimum value of a list, I can just click on 1 and then enter the list name. So let's do that. Let's click on 1. All right, so how do I get the list name? Notice above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are in blue are numbers with an L in front of them. Those are those 6 predefined lists. If I wanted a different one, I could go back to list and then just grab the one from the part of the menu that said names. My data is in L1, so I'm going to go second L1, and I'm just going to close that off. I don't need any other arguments to this function, so this is just going to return the minimum value in that L1 list, which is 4.7. All right, so if I go to the same menu again, I would do it the same way. If I wanted the maximum, I do maximum L1, mean L1, so what is the average value of L1? Average value is 4. I'm sorry, did I do min again? I did min again. Let's do, make sure I do mean L1. And so I can get these values without doing the entire analysis. And then the standard deviation one, because this might be new to you, standard deviation, at least the calculations for it, are kind of difficult. But I think a good way to understand standard deviation is it's kind of like a unit of length. The way standard deviation is defined is it takes the data in the set and with a very specific definition says this is one standard deviation. And generally what that means is 68% of the data is supposed to fall within 1 standard deviation of the mean. And then 2 standard deviations away from the mean is less and less of the data, 3 standard deviations, and so on. And so what it gives us is a sensible way to talk about the relative likelihood of a piece of data actually occurring. The most likely results will be the results which are the closest in terms of numbers of standard deviations away from the average. And the least likely results are the ones which are a larger number of standard deviations away from the mean. So that's really what that is, and if I wanted to know that standard deviation for my data set, that's option number 7, second L1, 0.66. Now I only had 6 elements in that data set, so I don't really know if that's a ridiculous standard deviation or not. And I did keep all that data fairly close together, so maybe that would make sense. But that's kind of what standard deviation is it gives us a reasonable way to quickly talk about how likely or unlikely a specific outcome may be based on outcomes that are similar to that and how many standard deviations they are away from that mean.